Today we're going to talk about money and how you can manage it, especially when you're on your 20s. Here are 5 tips on how you can properly manage your financials and how you can save more money each month. Tip number 1. Declutter. Reassess your expenses. The first step to actually save more money is to lessen your expenses. This tip is not to deprive yourself, but to encourage you to spend only on your necessities. Examples of these are by reducing or eliminating other regular paid services like entertainment subscriptions. Another one is cooking your own meal instead of eating outside. This decluttering process does not only pertain to expenses, but also to the people who surround you. If by any chance you have some people that urge you to spend or leads you to an expense, you might want to consider avoiding them. This can be one of your acquaintances, friends, or might even be a relative. Tip number 2 is to have a safety net. Get an insurance. This is important for our financials, especially in terms of security, because it serves as a safety net. Let's say you already start saving money and you tell yourself that you will save a third of your monthly income. Months go by and you're consistently saving until one day you get sick, or you have an accident, or your car broke. Surely, you will be needing money for these expenses. You might have a cash on hand, but when things get really bad, you might even need to withdraw your invested money or sell your assets like your car and house for the expense. Not being a pessimist, but these scenarios can really happen. These scenarios are where insurance comes in handy. Get an insurance in a specific area that you will be needing security. For example, an ice cream truck business. This truck is a valuable asset you use every day. If this truck is damaged, let's say in an accident, and you have no insurance, you will have no way to repair or replace that vehicle unless you have a large savings account. Your business revolves in this truck, so you might want to consider having a vehicle insurance to cover these expenses. Another one is when you have a home-based business, or let's say a workshop of a sort. Property insurance will come in handy in events of fire, storm, or theft. In terms of health, a Harvard study noted that statistically, we are just one serious illness away from bankruptcy. They also concluded that 62% of all personal bankruptcies in the US in 2007 were caused by health problems. Health is wealth, right? You cannot actually perform at your best when you're sick. And medicine is not always free. That is why it is suggested to have a health insurance that will cover this. Insurance will serve as your first line of defense against unexpected expenses in a specific area. While insurance certainly takes a part of our budget, being without it could lead to financial ruin. Tip number 3. Allocation. Allocate your money in these 3 different funds. The first one is the investment fund, which can also be called for future fund. The money you're allocating here are not consumed today. It is for future use. Some might say, what if I needed money? Can I take it from here? Yes, you can, but you should not. That is not how this works. The money you allocate here should be kept in here as much as possible for it to accumulate higher return in the future. Examples of these are paper assets like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and other investments. The next one is the emergency fund. This fund is for unexpected events that will lead you to an expense. This is also the fund to cover your regular expense for the meantime when you lost your source of income. These funds should be liquid, meaning it can be converted as soon as possible into cash for immediate use. That is why it is called an emergency fund in the first place. Examples of these are checking, savings account, and credit unions. Lastly, an allocation for your necessities. This is for your needs like food, shelter, and others. This is the 3 types of allocation you should have. Now, how much will be allocated here will depend on you because we all have different necessities. But for your reference, emergency funds should have 3 months of living expense at a minimum to cover your basic needs like utilities and food if you lost your income source. For your investment fund, the more the better. because the more that you allocate here, the more wealth that you will accumulate in the future. Tip number 4 is return. Your allocated money, as much as possible, should have a return. Investment funds, as discussed, is for future use, right? That means that you will have the advantage of time as a leverage for the return. You can allocate your investment funds on assets that will bring a return for you in the future. For example, is when you invest your money on stocks. The average annualized return of the S&P 500 index was about 11.69% from the years 1973 to 2016. So you will have a return around this much when you invest in those company stocks. For emergency funds, I suggest joining financial cooperatives. Financial cooperatives are financial institutions that is owned and operated by its member, and an example of these are credit unions. So what is the difference between credit unions and banks? Let us start from their similarity. They are both liquid assets, meaning they can be converted to cash immediately in a way of ATM machines or over-the-counter withdrawals. For their difference, unlike banks, credit unions have a higher interest rate. That is why it is better compared to banks in terms of return. Now for your necessities. You might be wondering, how can I have a return from my necessities? For example is your food. Given the fact that it is a non-negotiable expense, make it an investment by buying healthier foods, and as a return, you will have a healthier body. At the end of the day, health is wealth, right? Another example is clothing. Instead of just mindlessly buying clothes, why not try to invest in buying good quality apparels? And as a return, you no longer need to buy a new t-shirt from time to time. Tip number 5 is consistency. This is the most important of all. Be consistent in allocating your income, monitoring your expense, and maximizing your returns. If you tell yourself that you will allocate this X amount of money every month, have a discipline to it. Make it like working out. Make it a habit. And I like to end this video saying that it's not about how much money you make, it's how you save it. You see, it doesn't matter if you earn thousands or hundreds, if you also spend as much. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have more tips on how to properly manage money, share it with us by commenting it down below. Thanks for watching, and if you want more videos like this, feel free to subscribe.